So I'm going to go through the profiling test battery that we do. We first start off with assessing an athlete's strength. Why are we doing that? We want to assess force production, but in terms of rehab, it is a robustness to ground reaction forces. So basically, can you handle the demands of the game outside? What tests am I doing for that? First of all, we're doing an isometric unilateral squat, which I adapted from Carl Wells. If you don't know Carl Wells, he ran the program previously under Spire. But this is having the bar in a fixed position on the back, in this position here with a force plate underneath your feet, and you're pushing as hard as possible. We are looking at peak vertical force from that and rate of force production. I've seen Luke Jenkinson in the audience. He posted something on Twitter the other day in a similar position. So Luke, where you are, I just want to share some ideas around that from you. Once they've done that, we then take them through an eccentric Nordic, and then we have access to an isoconnected dynamometer, which we're only using for knee injuries. Once they've been through that strength testing battery, they'll then go through a power testing battery or indirect measures of power. And we are looking at dynamic force production, absorption, limb asymmetry, and acceptance to ground reaction forces. So in basic English, bilateral and unilateral counter movement jump. And then finally, speed. I'm not directly assessing speed unless I'm doing max velocity outside. But I'm looking at reactive force production and again, limb asymmetry and using the unilateral 10-5 hop. So that's my basic profiling strategy. Everyone will have their opinion on what they would like to do, but at the moment I've gone through that. So I'm specifically going to go into that counter movement jump section, and I'm glad I'm taking the floor before Chris Bishop because he is definitely an expert in this field, but hopefully I present a practical snippet of what I've been doing. So first of all, bilateral counter movement jump, as demonstrated by Fatali, who sat in the audience just there. When I initially started this, I was looking at peak force asymmetry. So in the concentric phase, which is force production, eccentric phase, force absorption, and the landing phase, which is force acceptance. We want to do the unilateral counter movement jump, which we all know what that looks like. Was looking at the same thing in terms of peak force asymmetry. But also two performance markers for me were concentric power and eccentric power. It's okay having the force, but you need to have the power to actually perform physical activity, and particularly in football, being able to produce those explosive actions. So from this, when I initially started testing, I was expecting, okay, if you've got an ACL injury to your right leg, you're going to heavily rely on your left leg to produce, absorb, or accept force. I was expecting then exactly the same with the unilateral counter movement jump, but if not, greater differences.